I was going to introduce Pat and read off a lot of his resume to you, but I thought to myself that if we do that, it'll be the end of the session by the time I get there. But if I could do a quick snapshot for you. One of the industry's innovative thinkers, more awards. For example, the Gun Report named them the #1 agency in the world, voted the Agency of the Year by Campaign Palace back in 2013, or Campaign Brief. Advertising Age USA ranked Patrick as the world's #1 creative director. He's campaigned for Dumb Ways to Die for Metro Trains, is an award winner and unheard of throughout the industry. He's going to take us on a little journey and talk a fair bit about the future. Would you please join with me in welcoming Pat Barron?
Hi, I'm Pat. I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction about who I am. I'm the Chief Creative Officer of McCann. McCann is an American company, an American advertising company. It's got 23,000 employees. I actually copied this off the internet. It was really interesting. I had no idea, but I did this last night. In 120 countries that collaborate across all the communication medias. So that's PR, that's promo activation. You name it, they've probably got an office somewhere in the world that does it. A little bit about me. Now, I'm only an ad guy. I'm not an expert in radio. Like most advertising people, we absorb a lot of information about lots of different industries and lots of different media, but we only get into trouble when we try to be an expert in what our clients do or what that particular media is. That's when we tend to come unstuck. But what we are expert at are ads, or campaigns and ideas. So I have an arts background. I didn't go to university or study marketing. I studied arts. I studied fine art. I found myself in advertising in the creative department and working on, I guess, solving clients' problems. I didn't really approach those problems with an idea to sell X amount of product or to be more, highly strategic in how I tackled those problems. I did it from in a way that I wanted to connect with people. I wanted to do it in a real way. Just as I was talking to you or anybody else, I wanted to find a way or an answer that was something that that person would want to listen to and want to connect with. So I guess when I'm answering a brief, and today we're talking about radio, I tend to feel my way through this idea as much as think my way through an idea. And by that I mean you can answer a brief or a client's problem and you can think, yes, that ticks off all the boxes. We've said that, that makes sense, it's logical, it's rational. But if I can't feel something from that idea, and I think this is particularly relevant to radio, no one's going to listen to it. No one's going to really understand it. And I think we all know that one of the great things that advertising can do is it has an added value. Great advertising, great radio advertising can make you feel something towards that message. You can like it or dislike it. You can feel scared. You can want to tell somebody else. You can stop what you're doing. But it makes you feel something because it connects with you. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. I do burn the toast. I've actually bought a new toaster, and it's one of those toasters with the complete dial set, and I still manage to burn the toast, because whenever I set it the first time, when you make the toast, it gets to that point where it's not fully toasted, probably because it's frozen, and then you put it down again, and then somehow it burns because you leave it. So, I've never managed to solve that. I do kill plants. We're in this, I've got indoor plants, I haven't figured that one out. But animals do like me, so it's a little bit about me. So today I want to talk about, I think when I look at what we're trying to do as an agency and what I'm trying to do in our office in McCann, Melbourne, is our approach, even though we're an advertising agency, we tend to think of ourselves as entertaining. We're in the entertainment business because our competition isn't other advertisers. And you might argue it's not even other media channels, but it is entertainment. It's entertainment generally, because if we're fighting for the space of people, we know that they're more interested in watching that show, or watching that podcast, or watching YouTube. Now they can select what they want to watch. We know that if we want to get our message across, we are going to have to come up with some form of message that's delivered in a way that's as entertaining as what people are actually getting in other forms of content in life. So today we're going to talk about the power of radio, and I think when I think about radio, I think that it is one of those few mediums that, because you're only listening to it, and I don't know if it's because our ears have that proximity to our brains, and I don't know if it's any faster with hands or smell or touch or anything else, but I always think of radio as it gets instantly into your head. You have to listen to it, and I don't know why that is, but the moment I think about that sound going into here, I feel like it's in here. And I know that we talk about emotion, and I always point to my chest, but rationally I know that emotions are developed in our brain through chemicals. So I feel like of all the mediums that we get to play with, yes, its limitations are, it's not visual, we can't show a moving picture, or any of those sorts of things, you can't touch it or feel it, but it gets into your head. I think that is both its limitation, but that's also what's really exciting about it. Now, I know in this audience today, some of you you're all from all sorts of different backgrounds. Some of you may be from an agency background or client background. You may have heard all this stuff before, so I won't try and go into it in too much detail, but I'll just flick through it. So, but the first thing I want to talk about today, and the reason I want to go here first, is because I think that when I'm talking about what I try to do or what our agency is trying to do, and when we're answering a brief, we can't go past the context of the disruption of what's happening now with digital content. New technologies and digital content has completely changed the entire landscape. And I'm not telling anybody anything new here. What we're getting better at doing is connecting all those dots. And that is that radio as a digital content through all the different forms that it's now broadcast, or let's call it soundvertising, and we'll get to that later, now has to be, the potential of it has been elevated because it is now so connected. And I think that the expectations of what we can do creatively have been raised as well, and I've got some examples further down. So the reason I showed the first video is that talking today, I thought, what if radio was invented today? What would it look like? We wouldn't be thinking of what we could do within 30 seconds or 15 seconds, which is kind of what we did for a long time. It would be entirely different. Because in a world of podcasts, SoundCloud, social media, live streaming and iTunes, and sensory innovation, I mean, now there's 3D sound. Does anybody know, has anybody been playing with that? This sense where you can, it's, and I would say this as well when we get to question time, if anybody has any further information to add that they would like to share with other people, please do so. So we've got sensory innovation, disruption, digital technology that's changing the radio medium. Look, and I'm in advertising, so I call it soundvertising. So I've got a couple of examples, and I first of all want to just play this campaign that was done from Germany, and those of you that follow Khan would know this work. It's highly awarded work from around the world. But this is effectively, radio ads were made from this, but it was a promo activation to celebrate the 25th year since the fall of the Berlin Wall. And I'm going to play a case study because I think it says it better than I can.
Bis heute ist es unglaublich schwer, mit meinem Bruder darüber zu reden, also besonders über dieses Jahr im Gefängnis.
Und das werde ich nie vergessen. Die haben mich in den Arm genommen und haben gesagt, du hast es geschafft. Und dann bin ich ohnmächtig geworden.
Das Office von Soundcloud ist ja neben der Gedenkstätte, der Mauergedenkstätte in Berlin. Und wir überlegten, wie kann Soundcloud auf seiner Plattform nicht nur erinnern, sondern die Gefühle und die Ereignisse von damals zurückbringen. Wenn man ein Musikstück auf Soundcloud hochlädt, bekommt man vom Interface eine grafische Darstellung der Wellenform. Um diese Form der Berliner Mauer grafisch darzustellen, haben wir einen extrem tiefen Sinuston benutzt und mit Hilfe dieser Sinuswelle konnten wir dann die lineare Form der Mauer wiedergeben, unterbrochen von Schüssen und Sirenen, die die Peaks für die Wachtürme erzeugten.
Wer unsere Grenze nicht respektiert,
Wir nutzen also Klang, um ein visuelles Denkmal zu erzeugen, um eine Klangstrecke zu gestalten, die nochmal dieses Gefühl der Beklemmung und der Klaustrophobie verstärken.
Der Staat der Arbeiter und Bauern hat ihnen seine Stärke und Entschlossenheit gezeigt.
Grenzabschnitt, normale Aktivität des Gegners. In den frühen Morgenstunden Festnahme einer mächtigen Person am Bahndamm. Tear down this wall.
Okay. Now, later on today, I am going to play some ads that sell things like KFC meals and chicken meals and stuff like that. So we're going to cover a full spectrum here. But that just gives you an idea of the possibilities. When I think of a radio ad, I don't think of that at all. I think about something completely different. But it tells you the kind of possibilities that are now available to us, because that will be played as in an installation. That can be played as a radio commercial. That can be played in all sorts of, and brought to life in so many different ways in so many different places that I think it just opens up the possibilities. Now, I think today I've started here, but I want to kind of we will at the end just bring it back. So what we can do now is complicated, but it's also simple. I just want to, before we go further, I just want to touch on, and again, some of you may or may not know how we work as an agency, but we work with a brief, an idea, and that leads us to an execution. But I kind of like to think of it as saying it straight, which is the brief. And because the temptation these days, as we know, is that if you don't say it straight, people get confused as to what it is that you actually want to say. Saying it great, and then making it great. They're the three things. It's as simple as that. And if we were to break down what they actually did, which is say it straight, celebrate the 25th year since the fall of the Berlin Wall, say it great, well, that's what they did, and there was all sorts of things they did through SoundCloud, through radio, through installation, through so on and so forth, and making it great. Well, that's how they then brought it to life. I've rushed through this very quickly, but that's kind of the platform that we use as an agency to get to a single mind, to get to a great idea. It's not actually as complicated as it seems. What's wonderful is the idea and how that's brought to life. So here's an example that our agency did that we touched on before. I feel I should play this, but it's how do you get young people to listen to a safety message on the radio?
Set fire to your hair, poke a stick at a grizzly bear, eat medicine that's out of date, use your private parts as piranha bait. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Get your toast out with a fork, do your own electrical work, teach yourself how to fly, eat a 2-week-old unrefrigerated pie. Dumb ways to die, so many dumb ways to die. Dumb ways to...
Okay, sorry guys. Has people heard that before? Yeah, great. Okay, so you may know the results of that. I won't play the case study because we want to move through. But again, I just want to get back to this saying it straight, say it great, and make it great. And there are all sorts of different philosophies and different agencies, and you've probably worked with them all, and you've probably got your own businesses. But that's kind of mine. It makes it really easy to kind of break down what you have to do. And I think in radio that's really important, because if you get this much and you want to try and say that much in such a short period of time, it becomes a mess. It becomes a list of things that you want to say, and you don't get the chance to kind of say it in a way that really is how people want to something that is said in a way that people will want to connect with it. So does radio limit us, or do we limit the radio? Sounds very philosophical, but if we think traditional radio ads are dull, is it because radio is dull and traditional, or is it because our thinking is? And I know that in our agency we have a lot of young creatives. They're all about, if we look to the 24-year-old bracket, they still think of a radio brief as like a radio brief. They're still thinking like that 30-second broadcast through your car type of brief. Well, it's nothing like that now at all. And I think it is our thinking. So this next idea is one of my favourites. Radio advertising can be useful as well. So this is how Pedigree created a radio station for dogs. So they were doing a radio campaign, but they discovered that they could actually get the bandwidth of a... that's my phone. That's fantastic. I thought of all people. So I'm going to play this. This is K9 FM, Sit, Stand, Enjoy.
You're listening to Talkies on Pedigree K9 FM. Today's topic, when does a stick become a branch? When does a branch become a log? And when does a log become a tree? Today's experts are tree surgeon Dr. Peter Shaw and forester Michael Beaumont. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on Talkies. Let's start at the beginning then, shall we? At what point does a branch become a log?
I tend to think of it as when you can float on it.
That's interesting.
When you can use it as buoyancy, really.
Buoyancy.
Buoyancy. If you can make a structure out of
log.
The wood, it is a log.
Like you don't have branch cabins in the woods.
No, you wouldn't have a branch cabin.
No.
Small one.
Well, you'd have a little, sure. I mean, maybe a toy.
If you're making a log cabin, you'd make a model for it.
Yes.
Preliminary model out of sticks, probably. And then...
Intermediate model out of branches.
Yep.
And then
full
size.
Full scale, one-to-one in logs.
This is a wonderful debate if you've just joined us. We were sort of discussing earlier that a branch is attached to a tree. Mm-hmm. Sticks generally not attached
on
to
the ground.
Tree. They're on the ground. If we can push that further and just sort of see where this takes us, what point does a log become a tree?
When it is still stuck in the ground with stuff growing out of it.
I'll just stop you there.
Yep.
I would argue that life, that's when
Okay, that's enough. I'm moving through really quickly because we don't have much time. We're running behind. So I'm just going to see if I can show you as much stuff as possible and the breadth. I think at the end of the day, I really would like to show the breadth of what's achievable through radio and through sound. So it's just brilliant writing, sensational writing. They created this entire, as I said, station, but they had other... let's play this because it just gives you an idea of what's possible.
Pedigree presents K9 FM. K9 FM. Sit, stay, enjoy.
I'm constantly telling people they should leave the radio on for their dog, so why not have something that's targeted at dogs and has a little bit of research behind it.
You feel very comfortable in this place. No cats live here. Dotted across the field is the occasional tree, but you don't even have to go.
Hello, this is going out to my little Louie.
Good girl, Molly.
Don't lick your stitches. Wear the cone of shame. Don't be embarrassed.
Virtual outings on K9 FM.
We cross live to Fetch in the Park.
It's a wonderful take as well.
Catch.
Yeah, you get the idea. So again, I've just broken down through some of these campaigns. Again, very, very simply, say it straight, say it great, make it great. And if I was doing any creative for a radio campaign, I would just break it down like that and start there. What is the problem? What do you have to say? The idea, and then how you're going to do it. Simple. The script, obviously, scripts are so important. You've got to have a great script, and there are some amazingly talented writers out there. I'm not a funny man. I've never had that gene. But working with writers who have that ability and talent is so important. So getting the right talent to write your radio is really important. Casting, if you get the casting is everything. It's always amazing to me how we can spend like months on the brief, if you like. It would be in a creative department for like 3 weeks, and suddenly you're casting in a day. makes no sense to me at all. Because the people you choose, those voices, the delivery, the right person is everything. Just that right voice, because we can tell who that person is just by listening to them. And production, of course. So now we're going to sell some Kentucky Fried Chicken. I love this. And this is, we've celebrated 25 years since the fall of the Berlin Wall. We have saved people's lives from getting killed and being idiots. And we have made dog lives better, but now we're going to sell some Kentucky Fried Chicken. So this campaign is you can like Barbara Streisand and still be a man. You can drink cocktails and still be a man. The KFC man meal is not just for burly, hammer-wielding jocks. It's for every man.
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, hello, Cedric.
I once handed back an unopened jar of mayonnaise.
You're still a man, Cedric.
I YouTubed how to change a light bulb.
You're a man.
I took a microwave on a camping trip.
You're still a man.
Watching synchronized swimming really calms me.
Man.
I like my eyebrows tidy.
Yes, you do. And you are still a man.
I work out in the colored weights section.
Well, men can do that.
Sports is gross.
Still a man.
My nipples are sensitive.
Mine too. Man.
I don't high five. You know, germs.
I know. Still a man.
I walk.
Yeah?
Speed walk.
Speed walking.
Uh-huh.
With the hips thing.
Yep.
Ah, still a man. The fully loaded man meal from KFC for every kind of man.
I love you.
I love you too, man. Yes.
Well...
Go ahead.
I emptied 450 mils of insecticide on a spider the size of a 10-cent coin.
You are still a man, Tyrone.
I typed lol.
Oh?
Lol.
You are a man.
I perm my hair.
Man.
I've never won an arcade game challenge.
Still a man.
I lie awake at night thinking I should have said, "No, Sean, you're the poopy face."
You're a man.
Why does everyone like duct tape?
You're a man.
I wore a cashmere and a mohair at the same time. It was cold.
You are a man.
I don't know what the claw thing on the back of the hammer is for.
You are... Really?
Meal.
That's okay. You are still a man, my friend. The fully loaded man meal from KFC for every kind of man.
Pinky promise?
Yes, I pinky promise.
Yeah, I tend to have a face peel before I have my KFC. So from man meals to mother's body, I think KFC, they just nailed it. It was good humour, light humour. Man must have been said, I don't know how many times through that. If we were to break it down to that, classic advertising, how many times you say the product's name? Would anyone like that? I'd love that. You don't have to do boring advertising. You don't have to repeat your message again. The restrictions to your brief, the restriction to your media doesn't mean you can't do brilliant, brilliant work. This is one of my favourite radio commercials. It's called Mother's Body. I'm just going to play it first. This is Dove celebrating a mother's body. Completely different. Set yourself for a completely different feel.
If we watch their lips smile, singing the same lullaby they've sung 1,000 times, and their mouths read repeats of their baby's favourite storylines, if we watch their arms wrap round babies' backs in cradles made from pats and palms, their chests now a pillow, with a heartbeat keeping squashed cheeks warm, we might realise how beautiful our mothers' bodies are. If we watch their thighs stride down streets, pushing pushchairs, praying toddler sleep, or the tiptoes of their feet as they sneak into tucking kicked-off sheets, the frown lines and flushed cheeks as they try to swerve those checkout sweets, when all their body longs for is one hot cup of tea, we might realise how beautiful a mother's skin can be. If we watch their laps gallop horses, their backbones arching climbing frames, hands lead them to their first school day, if we watch their lips moving forward to seal their children's dreams with one more kiss, we might realise how beautiful a mother's body is.
Tell us how beautiful you think a mother is at facebook.com/Dove.
So that commercial is just a beautiful insight brought to life with such honesty. The voice, the casting, the talent, it's spoken with such pride and such earnest. It's so earnest, it's so true that that I know. I'm a dad, and I think about when I look back, because my son's now 14, so I have to think back a long time. When I think back to that time, yeah, that brings me back to just how beautiful a mother is, full stop. Never mind her skin and what she's going through, and it celebrates beautifully what it is to be a mother. And it's a brilliantly written script, perfectly cast, and fantastic production. Didn't need to be expensive production, just simple. So lastly, I think one of the things that when I'm getting to a point where I'm looking at a script, or we're looking at a script in an agency, is that I like it when a script surprises you, when you look at it and you go, oh, okay, yeah, I know that this is everything we said we were going to say, but I'm kind of surprised. I know it's another really simple thing, but if you've ended up with a script where you go, I kind of knew what you were going to say before you said it, which is probably because I'm now going to switch off before you said it, I think it's a really important thing to do when you're looking at any script from anywhere, whether you've written it or your agency or anyone's producing it. Is it surprising? Is it true? Is it surprising? And I think it's important in life, and I put this down there because it's kind of what I think, to kind of surprise yourself as well, to allow yourself to be surprised, to go to places and have thoughts and ideas you may not have thought you should have done or could have done. Because I think if you can do that, you know, when you get a brief and you think, okay, this is what I should be writing, this is what the answer should be. A lot of people do it, it's kind of natural. But if you can kind of step away from that and get real for a second and kind of go, well, I wonder where will this take me, and just go naturally with there, and you can end up surprising yourself about what you really think and feel. I love this next piece, and this is the last piece I'll play. But this campaign kind of ambushed the routine of I guess what I was expecting to hear from this commercial. So I'll just play this, and we'll.
The following are actual calls.
Thank you for calling your friendly Kroger store.
Thanks for calling Kroger's. This is James. How can I help you?
Hi, James. So I just got a brand new poodle, and I'm wondering if I can bring him into the store with me.
A poodle? We do not allow pets in the store.
But we just picked him up from Animal Services, and he has separation anxiety.
Ma'am, I can't. It's a safety issue, and then you allow one, then you allow two, then when all of a sudden we have pets all in the store.
Don't you guys let people with loaded assault rifles in? I mean, isn't that a safety issue too?
Well, I mean, that's not an animal, and that's
so legally adopted poodles with separation anxiety, no. Legally, anyone with loaded assault weapons, yes.
I mean, it's just.
Does carrying loaded guns in grocery stores make sense? Tell Kroger to say no to America's open carry law at momsdemandaction.org. The following are actual calls.
Thank you for calling your friendly Kroger store.
This is Melissa. How may I help you?
Hi, my daughter just got this new scooter that I can't get her off of, and I'm wondering if I can bring it in the store with us.
There's liability issues with that, and the safety and concern of our customers is foremost.
She won't let the thing go, right? And I just...
The poor thing, she loves this.
She does, and I mean...
Oh, goodness. So, as far as riding it, no?
But, people are allowed to bring in loaded weapons into the store, right? I mean...
Yes, that's correct. That is a state law.
You're saying I can't bring in a scooter with pink tassels, but I could bring in a gun,
Yeah, exactly. But, like I said, I can't change those kind of things, so... Yeah.
Does carrying loaded guns in grocery stores make sense? Tell Kroger to say no to America's open carry law at momsdemandaction.org.
So I think that says it all. I mean, if you could not do a better commercial. And what I love about that is it's the truth. You can create some sort of dramatized scenario that would bring a point home, but it'll never be as powerful as the truth. And in that case, and I think that's something that's in all the work that we've shown today. There is a core single truth. There is something that needs to be said, and every single one of those radio campaigns or sound advertising or whatever, and again, I know there are people in this room who are experts in the changing landscape of digital technologies and so on and so forth, and I'm not. In fact, every 6 months or every week it changes, and I can't keep up with it, to be honest, and there are people out there, thank goodness, in our agency that can inform us about what's happening. What I can do and what I do know is that if you can find a core simple truth and the truth is really important because people connect with it. Break it down, make it simple. You can come up with a brilliant idea for that, and follow those principles. You can do some wonderful radio advertising. So that's all from me today. If you have, again, if you've got any questions, that'd be fantastic. Or there may be something you want to add to something that I've said, I've missed out on, I've got something wrong. As I said, I've touched on many different things here, and I may have be out of date or may have not got something quite right.
So, questions at all?
I won't feel bad if you... Oh, yes.
We'll get the mic.
I was just curious to know, obviously the ideas you've got are fairly cutting edge sort of thing, so how do you convince a client that might be a little bit conservative?
I think it's, I think a conservative client, that's a really good question, because I think all our clients are conservative. Nobody wants to take a risk. And I think that if you're solving a real problem for your client, if the brief isn't arguably the truth, and your creative solution is done with respect, and it is not gratuitous, and it is beautifully executed, I think that it is never a risk for a client. I think that something we don't talk a lot about is tonally, how you might execute an idea as well. You see a lot of work where you go, I think they've really taken the, it might be saying the right thing, but it's done in a way that turns you off, or it's done in a way that's not quite as it should be. So I think I would start, the most important part of that process is the brief. Second part is building the trust with a client. If your client doesn't trust you, they will never do good work. So it's doing, it's all the other things, all the other interaction that you have with a client, understanding their business, being there when you need them, knowing what they're trying to achieve or do. So that could be selling a product, or it could be raising awareness, it could be behavior change. So that would be how I go about it.
Hello, Pat.
Hello.
Why are 95% of all radio ads so shit? And what can you do to help fix that?
What can I do? It's a really good question. I think we do a lot of work for our clients. It's not always great. I think there's a lot of times when we get caught into a pattern. I think in terms of answering a brief, it's natural and it's comfortable, and we can find ourselves answering a problem the same way we've always answered it. And I think it's not until there's a real problem that we can go, okay, maybe we should be doing something different, because we've been doing this for so long now, and it's been regarded as the way to do it, that we've ended up with a homogenized, not only have we got a homogenized proposition, but we've ended up with a homogenized way of answering that problem in radio. So I think agencies have to be, the tendency is to be a little lazy, a little commoditized in how we answer briefs, particularly in mediums like radio, because I don't think there's any doubt that agencies are now looking toward the new digital mediums that are, for a better word, are far sexier. Yet, the work that I've shown today is amongst the best in the world. It's not just some of the best and cutting-edge radio of the world, it's some of the best work in the world and the best thinking. And when you write a great radio script and you have a great idea with sound, when it's broken down to that purity and it's that small, you could have brought that to life in so many different ways. And Dumbways is an example, but The Wall of Sound's another example. I mean, all of those scripts could have, the writing's so brilliant. You could have done, you could bring it to life in other mediums so easily. So I think it's, I think it is changing, because I think our perception of what we can do in that medium, this medium, is changing. But I think for a long time, and I know we're generalizing, because there is a lot of great work, and there's agencies and countries and places around the world that do brilliant work. I mean, there's work from all around the world, from the Middle East to South America to America, where there is amazing radio advertising and creativity. But I think we shouldn't take radio for granted. And I think that can happen. So that's a long answer.
Hi, Pat.
Hi.
I have 7-year-old twins, so thank you for Dumb Ways to Die.
Oh, cool.
But
it wasn't me alone, I promise you. There's a whole bunch of other people. But,
on that, and perhaps to answer the question why radio ads are so shit, how long did that take to articulate from start to finish?
Which one? The
Dumb Ways to Die.
Dumb Ways was really quick. I mean, it was initially a poster brief. So the brief came into the agency and there were a series of posters, safety posters that the client, Metro Trains was looking to put around Melbourne. And as we went through the process of making these posters, we realised that, you know, not only was the media the wrong media, but kind of our execution sucked as well. It kind of felt the same. And it was an incremental movement, I guess, or not movement, incrementally our thinking changed to the point where we had this really sweet idea. Again, it was so true and said in a way that, you know, it's the way we really think and talk, and it is the dumbest way to die. Trains can't hunt you. They can't move off the tracks and find you. You actually have to get on the tracks. And then we realised, you know, we hurt ourselves in so many dumb ways and unthinking ways as well. And then we started to put those together. And John Meskel, who's the writer who wrote the script, he's a fantastic writer. He's got a great mind, and we just started putting all these different ways together. We came up with many more ways to die than the ones that we put in the song. Backpack through Afghanistan, get an all-year-round tan. There's a whole, there's a lot more that are completely wrong and not PC. But as we put these together, we thought, well, why not make a song? And when we looked at, again, a great script, but execution as well, we wanted to get a real band and work with a real band, so it felt real. The whole tone had to be innocent and sweet. So you've got that black humour with, you know, you're looking at gory death, but it's done in an innocent and sweet way. And we felt that radio was the best. That's where our heads were when it was first being created. And then, of course, it grew. And as it grew to a song, well, you release it on YouTube. And then the conversation goes, well, okay, we've written a song. Let's launch it on iTunes. And we didn't realise that, you know, there'd be Rihanna and Dumb Ways and all those sorts of things. We didn't realise that that would happen. But, so it was, yeah, I was just thinking, it was not, I think when we're talking about surprises, you can surprise yourself, just let it go there and see what happens. Sorry.
And what was the budget for it compared to the regional radio station that was to sell their local cars?
So the budget was very small initially, and in conjunction with the client, as the creative, as we started to explore what was possible, the client recognised that there was an opportunity there as well, and so the budget grew. But it was quite small. It was initially not much, but weekly, as we started to write more creative and come up with more solutions, more conversations had to be had about the budget and approvals and so on. So it did grow, but the script cost nothing. The idea didn't cost much, and then the rest we got into.